Her lips were on his. My best friend's hands slid down her waist like they owned her. And all I could do was stand there, behind the half-open hotel room door, shaking like a storm was inside me. Let me back up for a second. My name's Tyler. Tyler Reed. I'm 39. Been married to Vanessa for 16 years. You'd think after all that time, after building a family, a home, a life, she'd at least respect me enough not to screw my best friend, right? Guess what? You'd be wrong. I wasn't even supposed to be at the Westin Grand that day. My flight from Phoenix landed early, and I thought I'd surprise her. She said she was at a marketing retreat downtown, so I figured, why not stop by with flowers and maybe some champagne, act like a stupid rom-com husband. Yeah, I was the punchline. Room 1408. That's where my life ended and my rebirth started. I still remember knocking. No answer. I called her cell. She didn't pick up. Then I noticed the door slightly cracked open, and something inside told me not to walk away. I didn't want to go in, but I did. What I saw. That damn image is carved into my brain. Vanessa, my wife, was straddling Nick. Yes, Nick, my best friend since college. The guy who was best man at our wedding. The guy I once pulled out of a ditch after a drunk driving accident. The guy who held my daughter Emma the day she was born. Vanessa looked alive, glowing, laughing, her blouse hanging off her shoulder like she was some goddamn teenager sneaking around. And the worst part? She whispered something to him, something that made him smirk. It wasn't just the act. It was the comfort, the routine. Like this wasn't the first time. Like they had done this in that bed, in a dozen beds, over and over again. And I, her husband, was just the ATM and the babysitter. I didn't barge in. Not yet. I stood there, silent, and I watched for 30 seconds. 30 seconds was enough to burn me from the inside out. When she finally saw me, her smile dropped like a blade. Nick scrambled. She pulled up her blouse like it mattered anymore. Tyler, what the F? What are you doing here? That's what she said. Not, I'm sorry. Not, it's not what it looks like. Not, please don't leave me. Just pure panic for herself. For getting caught. You told me you were at a retreat, I said. I could barely speak. My throat felt like gravel. She buttoned her blouse with shaking fingers. I was. We finished early. I was just, Nick and I were. You were what? I asked. Networking? Practicing backstabbing in retime? Nick had the audacity to speak. Ty, listen, man. It's not what you think. Oh, shut up, I growled. You think I didn't see your tongue halfway down your throat? What else is there to think? Vanessa snapped, like the cold-hearted snake she really was. You were never around. Always flying for work. Always too tired. I needed something. There it was. The excuse. The classic, you made me cheat card. Straight from the bitch's handbook. And you know what? I didn't hit Nick. I didn't scream. I didn't break down. I just stood there, empty, like something was drained out of me. I looked at the two people I trusted most in the world and felt nothing but disgust. You picked him, Vanessa? I said quietly. Out of every man on earth, you picked Nick? She didn't answer. I turned around and left without another word. Walked out of the hotel, left the flowers on the ground, and drove off into the city without a single destination. For the next 48 hours, I disappeared. No phone calls. No texts. Just silence. My daughter, Emma, was 16 at the time. When she found out, she screamed at me. If you destroy our family over Mom's little affair because I didn't tell you, you're not my dad anymore. That broke me more than Vanessa ever could. So, I did what I had to do. I vanished. No one knew where I went for 8 years. But fate? Fate always knows how to stir the ashes. Because the day I got down on one knee to propose to my new girlfriend, on a quiet hilltop in Denver with the ring in my hand, Emma showed up. 8 years later. Tears in her eyes. A belly bump under her coat. Daddy, she whispered, I'm pregnant. I need money. Can you sponsor me? What I did next? No one saw it coming. She stood there, clutching her stomach like it was some kind of shield, like the fact that she was pregnant would erase the last 8 years. Emma, my daughter. She was 24 now, and even though her voice trembled, her eyes had that same stubborn fire Vanessa used to have, the kind that cut you without needing to raise its tone. Daddy, she whispered again, I'm pregnant. I need money. Can you sponsor me? My fiancée, Julia, stood frozen next to me. Her smile still half-formed from the moment I dropped to one knee. This was supposed to be our day. A new beginning. A clean start. And then Emma dropped out of the past like a ghost holding a bomb. I stood up slowly, brushing the dirt off my jeans. My heart? It wasn't racing. It was cold, controlled. Years of silence had turned me into something new, something sharper. Emma, I said, do you even realize what today is? She blinked, caught off guard. I was proposing, I continued. A fresh chapter. And you decided to walk in like a commercial break, asking for money? She started crying, but not the kind of tears that come from guilt. No, these were strategic, calculated. I could see it in the way she kept glancing at Julia, trying to guilt her through proximity. You left us, she said, voice cracking. You just disappeared, like we meant nothing. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. You mean nothing? I said. Your mother cheated on me with my best friend. I caught her. You yelled at me for finding out. And when I walked away to keep from losing my mind completely, I was the villain. Her voice rose. I was 16. I didn't know how to process it. I was scared. You weren't scared, I snapped. You were brainwashed. You chose sides. And you picked her, the one who betrayed everything we ever stood for. Julia gently touched my shoulder, but I shook her off. I wasn't done. Do you know where I went, Emma? I asked. For 8 years? Wyoming. I worked construction, cleaned up my head, lived out of a trailer for 2 years, built myself back from nothing. She stayed silent, mouth slightly open. You know what kept me going? I asked. The hope that maybe, just maybe, you'd grow up. That one day, you'd come to me not because you needed something, but because you were sorry. Her bottom lip trembled. I'm sorry, she whispered. But it was too late for whispers. No, I said firmly. You don't get to cry now. You don't get to show up 8 years later, pregnant, broke, and start talking like nothing happened. You're not here because you miss me. You're here because you need me. She looked down. Guilty. Exactly what I expected. Who's the father? I asked. She hesitated. It's complicated. Of course it was. Everything connected to Vanessa always came with baggage. Well, I said, I'm not your ATM. I'm not your emergency fund. You want help? Prove to me that you're not your mother's daughter. Emma looked up, wounded. That's not fair. Neither was watching your mom cheat on me and being told by my own kid that I wasn't her father anymore. The silence that followed? It was heavy, brutal, but it was necessary. Then I turned to Julia and took her hand. Let's go, I said. We walked past Emma, down the path, toward the car. I didn't look back. Not yet. Because sometimes the past needs to stay buried. Until you're ready to dig it up on your own terms. I didn't sleep that night. After we left the hilltop, Julia tried to talk to me, to wrap her arms around me and hold me together, but my mind was too loud for comfort. I just stared at the ceiling, replaying the moment Emma appeared out of nowhere. She looked like Vanessa. Same eyes, same jawline, same ability to twist a moment into guilt that didn't belong to her. It wasn't just the fact that she asked me for money, hell. I've given cash to strangers who needed it. It was that she came with zero remorse. No explanation. No acknowledgement of how she helped shred me apart 8 years ago. And I couldn't stop thinking about what she said back then. If you destroy our family over mom's little affair because I didn't tell you, you're not my dad anymore. Those words hit harder than the betrayal itself. Vanessa was always slick with lies. She could cheat and still convince you it was your fault. I saw it again and again, the way she'd flip a story mid-argument, the way she'd cry at just the right time to make me feel like the monster. But what broke me wasn't her betrayal. It was watching her mold our daughter in her image. Emma didn't just lie to protect her mom. She became her mom. Cold, manipulative, strategic. I saw it when she was 15 and told me she was sleeping at her friend Rachel's, but she was actually at some older guy's party. Vanessa found out and laughed. She's just figuring herself out, Tyler. Don't be dramatic. I should have known then. Vanessa didn't see parenting as teaching right from wrong. She saw it as building an army, loyal to her and her alone. I was just the bank account and occasional background noise. And Nick, my so-called best friend? He vanished after that hotel incident. Blocked me on everything. Last I heard, he moved to Florida. Opened some gym or something. Probably still using the same moves he used on Vanessa to charm his way through other people's marriages. I remember the last words Vanessa ever said to me, right before I left. You'll regret this, Tyler. You're walking away from your own daughter. She'll grow up hating you. And for a while, she was right. That guilt? It sat in my chest like a tumor. Even when I was living out of that trailer, hammering wood with my hands bleeding, I kept seeing Emma's face, her voice screaming, "You're not my dad anymore." But now, 8 years later, That same daughter shows up, pregnant, broke, and needing money. And the first word out of her mouth is daddy. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I was wrong. Not even, are you okay? Just daddy. Like nothing ever happened. I kept flipping that moment around in my mind all night. Over and over. What did she expect? That I'd hug her, cry, and open my wallet like it was 2012 again? Vanessa taught her to lie without blinking. Taught her that men are tools. That guilt is currency. And now? Now that I finally had someone like Julia, a woman who actually respected me, who waited 3 years before I even kissed her, now they come knocking again. At 4:12 a.m., I got out of bed and went into the kitchen. I sat down at the table, opened my old laptop, and pulled up a file I hadn't touched in years. It was labeled Divorce, Final Papers. Inside it were scanned letters, evidence, even screenshots. I kept it all. Not for revenge. For memory. For clarity. I scrolled through a photo of Vanessa and Nick at a pool party I wasn't invited to 3 weeks before the hotel. She wore the same necklace I gave her for our 10th anniversary. She looked happy. I looked at that picture for a long time. Then I clicked print. Maybe it was time Emma saw who her mother really was. Maybe the truth didn't die 8 years ago. Maybe it just needed the right moment to rise again. By noon the next day, the envelope was sealed, addressed, and sitting in my passenger seat. Inside? A decade's worth of betrayal. Photos, transcripts, emails I'd pulled from Vanessa's computer before I left. Screenshots of text between her and Nick that made me physically sick back when I found them. I'd kept it all locked in a folder titled, Just in Case. Well, Just in Case finally showed up in a maternity dress with mascara tears and a sob story. I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it because Emma deserved to see it, the full truth, not the whitewashed, martyr version her mother spoon-fed her for years. Vanessa had told her I abandoned them, that I ran away because I couldn't handle being a father. But the envelope told a different story. The real one. I dropped it into the mailbox and walked away without hesitation. Back at home, Julia was curled up on the couch reading. She looked up, sensing something had shifted in me. You okay? She asked softly. For the first time in years, I said, sitting beside her, I actually think I might be. She smiled but didn't press. That's one of the reasons I love her. She doesn't pry. She listens when it matters and gives me space when I need it. Complete opposite of Vanessa, who used silence like a weapon, waiting for me to speak first so she could twist it. 2 days later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated before picking up. Hello. A pause. Then, you really mailed her that trash? Vanessa. I hadn't heard her voice in 8 years, but I recognized the venom instantly. It was laced with fake confidence, like she was still trying to control the narrative. It wasn't trash, I said calmly. It was the truth. She deserved it. She's my daughter, she snapped. You had no right. Oh, now you care about rights? I laughed bitterly. Where was that energy when you were tearing off your clothes for Nick in hotel rooms while I was busting my ass to pay for your yoga classes and wine nights? You're such a child, Tyler, she hissed. You always have been. That's why I cheated. You made it easy. There it was. The dagger. The twist. She wanted to hurt me, again, even now. But she didn't realize this wasn't the same Tyler she broke all those years ago. I smiled to myself. And you're still the same selfish little liar who can't take responsibility for a damn thing. But guess what, Vanessa? I'm not your punching bag anymore. You can keep your insults. I'm done. She went silent for a second. Then came the laugh. Cold. Cruel. Familiar. She'll come back to me, Tyler. She always does. Maybe, I replied. But this time, she'll come back knowing what you are. I hung up before she could speak again. And for the first time in forever, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. That night, I got a text from Emma. I read it. I don't even know who she is anymore. I need time to think. No, I'm sorry. No, you were right. But it was something. A crack in the armor Vanessa had built around her. I let it be. I didn't reply. This wasn't a moment to chase or comfort. She needed to sit with the truth, the same way I had for years in that trailer, surrounded by memories that used to feel like home but had turned into wreckage. Emma thought I disappeared because I was weak. But the truth? I disappeared because if I had stayed, I might have turned into something worse than broken. I might have become bitter, violent, destroyed. Now, I had rebuilt, brick by brick, and I was ready for whatever came next. A week passed. No more calls. No more texts. Just silence. And honestly, I didn't expect anything else. Vanessa was probably fuming, spinning new stories, blaming me for corrupting her daughter with fake evidence. Emma? She was probably stuck in the emotional crossfire, learning for the first time that her mother had been lying through her teeth since day one. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Something was coming. I could feel it. It started on a quiet Saturday morning. Julia and I were finishing breakfast when the doorbell rang. I opened it expecting a package. Instead, Emma stood there, hair tied back, hoodie too big for her. No makeup, just swollen eyes and a crumpled envelope in her hand. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. Julia nodded politely and gave us space, disappearing into the bedroom without a word. Emma sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I used to help her with math homework before she started locking herself in her room and lying about everything. She placed the envelope on the table. "What's that?" I asked. "Letters," she said. "From Mom. Over the years. Stuff she told me to burn after reading." I didn't. I opened one. My hands trembled slightly as I read the first line. "If your father ever tries to come back into your life, remember what he did to us. He left you. He chose his ego over his family." Every sentence was a poison dart. Another one read, "You don't need him. You have me. And if you want something, you don't ask, you take. That's how strong women survive." I looked at Emma, her eyes fixed on her hands. "I believed her," she said. "I believed everything." Silence hung heavy between us. I didn't need her to say sorry. Not yet. What I needed was honesty. Finally. "She used me, didn't she?" Emma whispered. "Yeah," I said quietly. "She did. But she's good at it. She makes you feel like you're the one in control, until you look around and realize she's pulling every string." Emma's voice cracked. "She told me you hit her. That you had a drinking problem. That you didn't care about me." My stomach twisted. "I've never touched her in anger," I said. "And I don't drink." "I never did." "She made that up so you'd stay loyal to her." A tear rolled down Emma's cheek. "I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore," she said. "You're not her," I told her. "That's the one thing you need to believe right now. You may have made mistakes, but you still have a choice. You get to decide who you want to be from this moment forward." She nodded, slowly. "I want to do better," she said. "I want to be someone you're proud of." "I already am," I said, surprising myself. "You showed up. That takes guts." She smiled, barely. Then her phone buzzed. She looked down, face darkening. "It's Mom," she said. "She's freaking out. Said if I stay here, she's cutting me off." I chuckled. Of course she did. Classic Vanessa, love with conditions. "I don't want to go back," Emma said. "But I don't know where else to go." "You can stay here," I said without hesitation. "But this house has one rule, honesty. Always." She nodded. And in that moment, I realized something. I thought my journey ended when I walked away from Vanessa. But standing in that kitchen, next to the daughter I thought I'd lost forever, I knew I wasn't done yet. Rebuilding wasn't just about moving on. Sometimes, it's about going back and pulling someone out of the fire with you. Emma moved in the next day with nothing but a duffel bag and a storm of regret. I gave her the guest room, fresh sheets, and more space than I had words. We didn't talk much the first night. She stayed quiet, and I let her be. Julia was patient, supportive, even. But I saw the concern in her eyes, the kind you can't hide when you're watching someone else's past step into your future. "I don't want her to destroy what you've rebuilt," Julia said gently, while Emma was asleep. "You've worked too hard to heal." "I know," I replied. "But this might be part of the healing too." What I didn't say out loud, I wasn't saving Emma. I was giving her one chance to save herself. And for a little while, she tried. She cleaned up after herself, cooked dinner once or twice, even helped Julia in the garden. It was quiet, almost peaceful. Then Vanessa found out. It started with the calls, 10 in 1 hour. Emma ignored them. Then the texts came. Long paragraphs. Short threats. Emotional blackmail in all caps. "You're choosing him? He abandoned you. Don't come crawling back when he turns on you, too." Then the kicker. I was pregnant with his second child when he left us. He didn't even care enough to ask what happened to the baby. Emma showed me that one, her hands shaking. "Is it true?" she asked. I closed my eyes for a long second. "No, she wasn't pregnant." "That's a lie." "But how can you know for sure?" she whispered. I walked to the file cabinet in the hallway, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out a sealed manila envelope. Inside, medical records. Dated the week after I left. She got checked at a clinic. Said she was having stomach pains. They ruled out pregnancy. I only found out because I requested her records through my lawyer during the divorce proceedings. She didn't know I had them. Emma stared at the papers like they were radioactive. She's insane, she finally said. No, I said. She's calculated. And she's running out of control, which makes her desperate. Later that night, Emma got a DM from someone she didn't recognize. A burner account. At Truth About Tyler. It had 2 posts, both blurry screenshots from years ago. One was me passed out on a couch after working a triple shift in Wyoming. The other? A cropped photo of me at a bar with coworkers. Just standing there, beer in hand. Caption. This is the man you ran to? LOL. Pathetic. Wake up. Vanessa wasn't done. Not even close. She wanted to destroy whatever connection Emma and I were rebuilding. But here's the thing she didn't understand. Every lie she threw at us now only exposed her more. Her desperation was backfiring. Emma didn't cry. She didn't panic. She laughed. For the first time in days. She made a fake account, just to humiliate you, she said. She's unhinged. I told you, I replied. She's not done until she's won. And when she realizes she's losing, she gets mean. Emma put her phone down. I don't want to be her anymore. I don't want to be anything like her. You're not, I said, looking her in the eyes. You showed up. You're still here. That makes you different. She hugged me. Quick. Awkward. But real. And right then, I knew something big was coming. Because women like Vanessa don't go down quietly. When the lies stop working, they go nuclear. And I was ready. I was right. 2 days after the burner account stunt, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a text. An actual letter, printed on legal stationery with a smug little law firm logo on top. Vanessa had filed for custody of Emma's unborn child. Let that sink in. She was trying to legally insert herself into a baby's life that wasn't even born yet. A child that wasn't hers. That she had nothing to do with. She can't do that, Emma said, panicking. Can she? Technically. I said, scanning the document. She can file whatever the hell she wants. Whether it holds up in court is another story. The document was filled with manipulative language, concern for the child's safety, hostile environment created by a estranged father, and my favorite, the mother-to-be's mental state appears to be compromised due to undue influence. Vanessa was trying to paint Emma as unfit. This wasn't about the baby. This wasn't even about Emma. This was about control. She couldn't stand that her daughter had escaped her grip. That she'd chosen me. So now she was throwing gasoline on every bridge and lighting matches with a grin. She's out of her mind, Emma said, pacing the living room. She's trying to steal my kid before it's even born. I stayed calm. That was my job now. I'll get a lawyer, I said. We'll handle it. You don't need to engage with her. That's what she wants, your energy, your fear. Emma stopped. I don't want to run. I want to fight her. That's when I saw it, real fire in her eyes. Not fear. Not confusion. Conviction. The same fire I had 8 years ago when I left everything behind to protect what little of myself I had left. You'll fight, I told her. But we fight smart. The next week was a blur of consultations, paperwork, and counterfilings. Julia helped every step of the way. She handled logistics while I handled emotions. I hadn't realized how much I leaned on her until that week. One evening, while we were sitting around the kitchen table buried in documents, Emma looked up from her laptop. Do you ever think about going back? She asked me. To her. If she begged. I almost laughed. No, I said, without hesitation. I don't think she knows how to beg. She only knows how to demand. Emma nodded. It's weird. For years I thought you were the villain. But now, I see her clearly. She's a good illusionist, I said. But all illusions break eventually. Right on cue, the phone rang. My old number, one I'd never deleted, never changed. It was her. I let it ring twice before answering. Tyler, she said, breathless. We need to talk. No, we don't. It's about Emma. No, it's about you, I said. And what you're doing to her. You're terrified she's waking up. That she sees who you really are. I'm her mother, she spat. You're a parasite, Vanessa. You fed off her love, her loyalty, her innocence. And now that she's finally thinking for herself, you're panicking. Because without control, you're nothing. There was silence. Then, she'll come back. She always comes back. Not this time. I hung up. I turned to Emma, who'd heard every word. She's done, I said. Emma smiled, genuinely. Like a weight had finally slid off her chest. For the first time, I saw her not as a lost girl trying to find her way, but as a woman ready to stand on her own. And me? I finally understood that my story with Vanessa wasn't about revenge or even escape. It was about breaking the cycle. One more part to go. The court date came faster than we expected. Vanessa showed up in heels too high for a custody hearing and a dress more fit for cocktails than justice. She wore her usual mask, polished, poised, and painted in victimhood. Her lawyer walked in with a smirk, a man who clearly thought he was about to walk through a win. But this time, she didn't control the room. Emma sat beside me, shoulders straight, eyes locked forward. She didn't cry, didn't flinch. And when the judge asked her to speak, she stood up, cleared her throat, and told the truth. All my life, she said, I thought my father abandoned me. I believed every word my mother told me because she was the loudest voice. But she wasn't the honest one. Vanessa's jaw clenched. My dad didn't walk away because he was selfish. He walked away because he was broken. Because the woman he loved destroyed his trust, his peace, and tried to turn me against him. There wasn't a dry eye in that room. Vanessa tried to interrupt, claimed emotional manipulation, claimed I'd brainwashed Emma into turning on her. But her voice was shaking now, because no matter how many lies she threw, none of them landed. Not this time. The mask had slipped. The judge could see it. Everyone could. The case was dismissed. The judge ruled that Vanessa had no legal grounds or standing to request custody or guardianship over a child that wasn't hers. But he didn't stop there. He issued a restraining order. Vanessa was barred from contacting Emma or her future child without written consent. For the first time in my life, I watched her lose. Not in a petty way, not in a spiteful way, in the kind of way that sticks. That scars. She stormed out of the courtroom without looking back. And Emma? She exhaled like she'd just escaped a burning building. That night, we sat outside on the porch. The air was still. The sky stretched wide and open, like our lives finally were. I used to think you gave up on me, she said. But you were just protecting yourself. I thought I'd lost you forever, I admit it. And I blamed myself for not fighting harder. We were both surviving, she said. But now we're building. We sat in silence for a while. Julia joined us, wrapped in a blanket, her hand resting gently on mine. Emma leaned back, eyes on the stars. You know what's crazy? What? If Mom had just said sorry once, I think I would have forgiven her. I nodded slowly. Same here. But Vanessa never did. Not once in 8 years. Not after the hotel. Not after the court. Not even after losing her daughter. And maybe that was the final lesson. Some people don't change. Some people can't. They stay who they are because it's easier than facing what they've done. And you can't save someone who isn't reaching back. 2 months later, Emma gave birth to a baby girl. Healthy, strong, beautiful. She named her Grace. I wanted to start this chapter with something my mom never had, she said. Grace. And me? I became a grandfather. A title I never thought I'd carry. One I wear like armor. The day I held Grace in my arms, she grabbed my finger tight. Like she already knew, this time, things would be different. I looked around the room, Julia smiling, Emma asleep in the hospital bed, and felt something I hadn't felt in over a decade. Peace. Not revenge. Not closure. Peace. Vanessa tried to destroy me. She tried to raise another version of herself through our daughter. She cheated, lied, manipulated, and when that didn't work, she tried to control from the shadows. But in the end, she lost everything. And me? I walked out of the fire with my daughter, my dignity, and a future full of light. She cheated and paid the highest price, losing the one person she thought would always forgive her. I closed the chapter, locked the door, and never looked back. Not once.